Hello Chipmunk and Chipette fans, my name is Grandy Tamayas, the speculative evolved species of upright walking chipmunk, and before I begin I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched my previous elaboration. It's gotten a pretty good reception and there are some really good comments I want to address in the next update video. Perhaps this new elaboration will continue that trend. I got a feeling it will if you read the title and thumbnail. Anyway, today's topic will be about how romance between the Chipmunks and Chipettes has been downplayed in the CGI series. To most casual people, the Chipettes are perceived as just a female foil to the Alvin and The Chipmunks band, and love interests for each of them. And to an extent, this is true. Back in the early 80s, Janice Carmen wanted the Chipmunks to cover songs from female artists for new albums and for their second animated series, but didn't want to have the boys constantly dressing up as girls. So she did the smart thing and added more chipmunk characters, in this case, female ones. I can only presume that Janice made them a trio and gave them a similar dynamic to the boys since, well, it worked so well for them. And I'd say this was very likely the case as far as Jeanette and Eleanor were concerned when comparing them to Simon and Theodore respectively. Brittany, I believe, had more going on with her since she carried over some elements of an earlier character, Charlene the Chipette, who you can learn more about in one of my previous videos. So for that reason, I think Brittany is the most diverse when compared to her quote-unquote male counterpart, but over the years, Jeanette and Eleanor have also been fleshed out more and have grown away from the stigma of just being female versions of other characters. For example, Eleanor may share a lot of the same traits and common interests as Theodore, like food and favorite color, but especially in the CGI series, Eleanor is much more athletic and mature than Theodore. In fact, I'm quite convinced that she could kick some serious butt if she ever needed to. Still, there are enough similarities that each of the Chipmunks and Chipettes are more likely to hang out with one particular member of the other group than the rest. And this has led to some romantic hints over the years. There were plenty of instances in the 80s era, including an episode where they are literally shown married in the future, and in the live-action movies, it was made much more obvious from the Chipettes' introduction that they were meant to be love interests for the boys. In the CGI series, however, romantic hints, or at least what I consider to be actual hints, are fewer and farther between, especially in the 4th and 5th seasons. Early on in Season 1, though, we did get the episode Albertina, in which Alvin and Brittany mistakenly believe from a magazine survey that they are meant to be each other's mystic mates. Throughout the episode, they try and get away from this supposed fate by changing their looks and personalities, but ultimately they can't part ways with who they are. So eventually they decide that they should master their own destinies instead of believing it to be predetermined. In the episode Kiss Conspiracy, when trying to demonstrate to Simon how to kiss his co-star in the school play, Alvin and Brittany accidentally kiss, but are immediately disgusted by it. There's also Season 2's Brittany the Body Snatcher, where Alvin defends Brittany's reputation from the criticism of some schoolgirls, and after overhearing it, she becomes infatuated with him for most of the remaining episode. I'll come back to this one later. I know people have pointed to episodes like He Said, She Said, and School Alone as having romantic hints, but both of those episodes end with Alvin and Brittany arguing as they walk down the school halls. So personally, I think they play up the won't they aspect of their relationship more than the will they part. As for Simon and Jeanette, as well as Theodore and Eleanor, there are fewer notable moments, and some of them could be written off with other explanations. In the episode Saving Simon, Jeanette kisses Simon on the cheek after he helps her with a crossword puzzle. However, that was meant as a distraction while the others were trying to prevent Simon from going to a science camp. Theodore and Eleanor are often seen cooking together and teaming up for detective work like in The Great Chipmunk Detective and Guitar Hero. In the episode Tour Bus, Theodore is smitten when he mistakenly believes that Eleanor called him a genius, even though she was being sarcastic. I could go on, but I'd be here all day if I pointed out or debunked every single instance that could theoretically be considered a romantic hint. And it would seem like the Alvin and Brittany hints alone would disprove this video's claim that relationships are being downplayed. However, due to the nature of the series, pretty much all of these examples are shrugged off by the end of the episode to maintain a status quo. I already mentioned how Albertina ended, but in Brittany the Body Snatcher, Brittany does a complete 180 on her infatuation with Alvin when he accuses her of being body snatched by an alien. Instances like these certainly made the episodes funny and memorable, but like I said, romance-related things have decreased in the later seasons. Season 4, and especially Season 5, have been toying around with continuity a little more, as I mentioned in my previous video, and I feel like if they leaned more into the romantic hints, especially with Alvin and Brittany, they'd have to return to those in some capacity, and thus, they wouldn't be just one-off instances. Plus, I severely doubt we're going to get any episodes where one of the Chipmunks asks one of the Chipettes out on a date, or vice versa. Going back to Brittany the Body Snatcher again, sure, Brittany did nice things for Alvin, like bake cookies or laugh at his jokes, but he never directly went up to him to ask to spend time with him. In fact, she doesn't actually engage in a full conversation with Alvin until he actually summons her to his house to call her out as a body snatcher. You could argue that Brittany was just too shy to ask up to that point, which is why she was frequently asking Dave for advice throughout the episode, but even then, she could have just been trying to draw things out and not seem too desperate by asking Alvin too quickly. But then there's also something else to consider from another Season 2 episode. In Secret Admirer, Brittany tells her sisters that none of them are ready to have boyfriends. And yeah, this does kind of go against what Brittany does at the beginning of Albertina and throughout Brittany the Body Snatcher, but then again, this one was released after those, so if it's set chronologically after those as well, maybe the events of those episodes is what made her decide that they weren't ready for boyfriends. Or perhaps Brittany just likes to bend that rule. It wouldn't be out of character for her. I guess I should also mention that Secret Admirer does have some hints from all three of the boys that they do like the Chipettes, but this is played as a joke and has no bearing on the plot. Hey, quick edit here. Up until now, I neglected to mention that there have been some episodes where some of the characters like Simon, Brittany, and especially Alvin have been shown wanting to be in romantic relationships with humans. While they do have much more obvious feelings in these instances, they are only contained to single episodes for each human that they have a crush on, and these humans are often relegated to being background characters in later episodes. Slight tangent though, does anyone else find episodes like these weird? Like, usually I don't have a problem with interspecies romance in other franchises, but they never acknowledge it here. This would be less of an issue if there were more species of sapient non-human animals in the show's universe, or better yet, say it with me now, more chipmunk characters. Because if they would rather find love with humans instead of any of the only 3 chipmunks of the opposite sex known to exist, it's clear that they don't care about the survival of their species. But it gets weirder, because in literally the second episode of the series, Alvin has a crush on the principal. And yeah, I know this has been a thing with Alvin since the 80s, but just why? Okay, back to the crux of this video. Despite all these romantic hints, the series overall seems to treat the Chipmunks and Chipettes more as just friends. And honestly, I prefer it that way.
You what?
I know that may tip off a lot of you shippers, but personally, romance isn't my most anticipated aspect when watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, especially the CGI series. It's not that I don't like it, but the show right now, I think, needs to focus more on the characters individually as well as more sophisticated plots and continuity. Again, as I said in my previous video. As with any fanbase, I know that there are a significant portion of fans who want to see certain characters become a couple, but at the same time, it generates an expectation that finding love is some sort of endgame for the series. Think about it. If Alvin and Brittany do become a couple and that sticks throughout the rest of the series, what's that going to serve? Them just being near each other a lot more? And if you're going to reply by saying that they'd be arguing less, well, them arguing is supposed to be the joke. Get over it. If characters are each capable of carrying the key parts or a key part of a story on their own, it leaves open more opportunities for conflict or exploration of individual traits. This is one of the reasons why I said that I like the approach of seasons 4 and 5 for most of their episodes, despite their lack of rewatch value. So overall, while it may seem really exciting whenever one of the Chipmunks or Chipettes displays some sign of affection to each other, we shouldn't expect the series to carry that through to some big conclusion. Because not only are there more pressing matters than love that the series should build upon, but it would also limit what these characters can do when they get a chance at a showcase episode. I expect that a lot of you may disagree with me in the comments, and that's fine, but all I'm here to do is explain how this series handles romance between the main characters and give my perspective on its use throughout the seasons. At the end of the day, shipping just doesn't matter to me. I'm game for whatever the show wants to do with their relationships, whether it be them as couples or the friend zone. Anyway, feel free to let me know in the comments. Do you think romance would help or hinder the CGI series? Please consider leaving a like, and if you're new, check out my channel and subscribe if you want more Alvin and the Chipmunks content. And if you want to follow me on social media, I have links to Twitter and Discord in the description. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed, have a nice day, and thank you for your time.